It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. It's debate week. We'll talk more about that coming up. The deal the Biden administration made with Julian Assange. Wow. Yeah. I disagree with Tucker Carlson. I disagree with MTG. Disagree with Reason Magazine.
Yeah.
Disagree with anybody who doesn't believe that he shouldn't have undergone the justice system in the United States.
Right.
Just so people know, because we hear the whole thing. Well, freedom of the press, freedom of the press, freedom of the press. Bull manure. Just so you know, and I'll tell you who laid it out really great was Noah Rothman in National Review. In 2010 and 2011, WikiLeaks released illegally obtained classified documents revealing Americans' methods, assets, and allies in the Afghan and Iraqi theaters where U.S. service personnel were actively engaged in counterinsurgency operations. His work outed the Afghans who worked directly with American servicemen, opening them up to retribution. And they most certainly did face retribution. The Taliban and other Islamist outfits, for example, used those documents to rally prospective insurgents and murder the tribal elders who helped the U.S. advance its mission in Afghanistan. The release of this information, to say nothing of the private contacts opposition leaders and human rights activists had with U.S. diplomats, had a horrible effect on America's ability to rebuild relationships with indigenous sources. As former State Department spokesman P.J. Crowley confessed, the information dumps even compelled the United States to withdraw diplomatic personnel from certain hotspots. We had an ambassador in Libya. We had to remove him from his post because he was directly threatened by Gaddafi's thugs. Assange's crime was not limited to the publication of documents that explicitly imperiled U.S. interests and provided insurgent organizations with actionable intelligence on military bases, prisons, and the movements of U.S. troops and local security forces. It was to facilitate the pilfering of those documents in the first place. Assange agreed to assist Bradley Manning in cracking a password stored at the United States Department of Defense computers connected to the secret Internet Protocol Network, a United States government network used for classified documents and communications. The indictment against him read, the WikiLeaks founder allegedly helped crack a defense password so Manning could secure as many classified documents as possible and subsequently publish them and promote their contents. This is quite simply beyond the remit of any journalist, as these idiots have been calling him. It's more akin to the conduct we would expect from a hostile intelligence network.
Right. Well, and, this whole idea of, we're going to go in and we're going to erase the transparency that that countries shouldn't have, essentially, secrets. Everything should be open to the public. This idea, we're going to reveal all the secrets. There can be no secrets when it comes to things like war. And the fact of the matter is, there has to be. You have to keep that information from your enemy. And am I happy about some of the things that were discovered, say, during the whole NSA thing? No. But on that Snowden thing, everybody was quick to make him a hero. And it's like, look, he went in, and this is, with Julian Assange, this is kind of the same approach. We're going to go in with the intent of bringing all of this out and doing whatever we have to do. It didn't just fall in their lap. This was their mission statement.
Right. And they didn't know what they were going to get.
No.
And they released everything that they got.
Right.
They didn't know what was in there.
And
you start getting top secret information, the movement of U.S. troops, you go to jail in America.
yep, absolutely.
End of story.
Well, because, again,
Tucker Carlson and MTG don't ever dare claim you care about the damn troops if you're cheering this release at the minimum. And again, these are the allegations at the minimum. At the absolute minimum, because I don't know what would come out in court. At the absolute minimum, he should face a trial by jury in the United States of America.
Right.
End of story.
Right.
I know when Trump said, we weren't on the air, when Trump said last week, I can't remember, I didn't see it till after I was off the air, when Trump said, well, we'd seriously consider giving him a pardon, and then he said, I'll say more in his speech that night than he didn't say anything about in his speech that night. I think probably he got some advice. Hey, you got to be careful about this. He goes, well, what we would do is we would put together a panel to see who was a political prisoner or not. So Trump wouldn't go that far. And if Trump would have gone that far, I would even be critical of saying you would think of a pardon for him. No, he goes through the U.S. justice system first. And if stuff comes out that shows that we don't know about, that shows the government was hiding things or he didn't do what he said, well, then
okay, great.
He should be treated
due process
in a due process way for Assange not to go through the U.S. justice system is an absolute travesty. And anyone who says no, it's not, he should have been let free because he's only a journalist. I don't care whether it's Tucker Carlson, MTG, Robert Kennedy Jr. You don't give a damn about the troops.
If you're saying it's okay to reveal that information, he had no idea.
Yep.
Assange didn't look.
Yeah. He is no hero.
No, that's the problem. Why do we have to tie ourselves to these balloons that rise on social media?
I have no idea.
And create heroes where they're not heroes. I don't get that mindset. And then I get the political latching on. Hey, look, this is rising to the surface. Let me jump on board. Because my question is, all right, Assange now is back home. What does he do next?
And again,
or if it's not Assange, then the next person, if it's believed that, all right, slap on the wrist at the worst, you can just say you're a journalist.
Well, and that's here. This was, as the Noah Rothman from National Review, quote, incredible news, declared Reason Magazine video journalist Zach Weissmuller in a post indicative of those who retain some sympathy for Assange. Always remember, his crime was publishing true information. He almost died in prison for that, end of quote. No, he didn't.
No.
An absolute lie from Reason Magazine. Reason Magazine, which used to be a credible magazine for libertarians, if you employ people like that, you shouldn't be in existence as a libertarian magazine. A libertarian, I'm a libertarian. You and I are more libertarian than we are conservative. We know. We took the test 10 years ago, remember?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep.
It doesn't mean, there's no secrets during war. Let everybody know the secrets of where your troops are.
I don't get that mentality.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Of that the people must know everything.
And I'm not,
because that's the idea. It's the whole there will be no secrets. Well, in war, we count on secrets to keep people safe. You abandon reason. Speaking of reason, you abandon reason in order to jump on something. And I don't get the logic. I don't get the need to do that.
Well, the whole thing is, free speech, free speech, free speech. You can only say this is a free speech issue, as many of the supporters of Assange are saying, if you live in the bubble of today and don't actually look at what he actually did.
Right. No, that's a good point, because yesterday it was as if, did we create some kind of myth in the mind? Did these people create some kind of myth in their mind and forget about the facts of how it all went down?
Right.
I just don't see the need to go out and tie myself to Assange or anyone else and create a hero where they don't exist. He should have faced justice here on American soil.
Yeah, I don't give a damn about whether he was exiled and all this time he couldn't live a free life, and he was in prison in Great Britain for 5 years, and he's paid. I don't care. He goes through the justice system at the minimum in the United States.
Yep.
He goes to court in the United States and faces the charges and whatever comes out of it. And I don't know what would come out of it. But whatever comes out of it, he faces whatever the verdict is, and I don't know what the verdict would be. But at the minimum, he faces the justice system. He goes through the court. The stinking deal with the Biden administration, sorry, that sucks.
Yeah, it does.
And I'm sorry, since we're big into spitting in the face or spitting now this last week, wherever the hell that came from.
I don't know where that came from. What is that?
I have no idea. Thank God it seemed to die the last day or two.
Yeah.
But you're spitting in the face of every U.S. service person. Anybody who serves, you're spitting in their face.
Yeah. Because you're okay with that secret information getting out as to where the troops might be.
Right. So don't lie about he's just a journalist reporting stuff. No. He participated in getting it illegally.
Right.
It's amazing.
And that's the crime. But again, we have to create a hero, I guess. I don't know why. Again, I don't get that need.
Again, his crime was not limited to only the publication of documents that explicitly imperiled U.S. interest and provided insurgent organizations with actionable intelligence on our military bases, prisons, and movements of U.S. troops. Assange agreed to assist Manning in cracking a password stored in the United States Department of Defense computers.
Right. Manning
got the information.
Manning didn't just hand over a bunch of data.
The WikiLeaks founder allegedly helped crack a Defense Department password so Manning could secure many of the classified documents.
Which makes you a key player.
Right. And they're leaving that out, saying he was only a journalist who was putting out stuff like many other journalists did before that might imperil U.S. interest, but he's simply a journalist and protected by the First Amendment. That is such a load. I mean, that got me angry when I saw that yesterday. It just got me furious because people are saying, oh, yeah, he was just a journalist doing it. We live in the bubble of today where we absolutely ignore or somehow, you know what it is? It's the pot smoking.
It's the weed.
I remember what I did today. Yeah, that's it.
Well,
I remember what I did yesterday.
And again, to what end? And if you're jumping on it, it was a weird celebration kind of thing. And I don't understand that. Like it was a victory.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
Hey, we experience every day. I'm as pro First Amendment as you can possibly imagine.
Sure.
I've been my entire life.
Right.
I'm for transparency in government. I'm not for hacking into computers.
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't the leaking part of it.
Right.
It's the crime you committed to obtain that information.
And it's a totality of the crime you committed that released information on U.S. troop movements, military bases, whatever.
Right.
You're cheering for that? Don't ever say Tucker Carlson is a patriot if he agrees with what the Biden administration did. It's absolutely reprehensible. He's become a nutcase anyway, though. The whole damn malevolent spirits now communicating with the U.S. government. Tucker Carlson's gone completely bonkers.
Yeah, it's weird. And this just adds to it. I don't get it. I really don't.
Yeah. Neither do I.
And how is it that you just abandon critical thinking? in a moment like this? How can you not analyze it and say, here's what it is? There has to be a hero. There has to be a victim.
By the way, I say the thing to Marjorie Taylor Greene, who agreed with AOC that they're lobbying members to have Joe Biden drop the extradition attempts against Assange.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
Yeah, right.
And we said that back then when Marjorie Taylor Greene came out with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, sorry. Mm-hmm. And by the way, she won. Understand, she didn't want him prosecuted in the United States for doing that.
Right.
That's MTG. Remember that. She just won. Excuse me, not did she win? No, she didn't win.
AOC won the primary.
AOC won the primary,
Yeah.
yesterday, yeah. When Marjorie Taylor Greene tries to tell you she's a patriot, understand that somebody who hacked into the computers is alleged to hacked into the computers to give you U.S. troop movements to our enemies. She was in favor of him not facing justice in the United States.
Yeah.
And then have her tell me or you that she's a patriot? Bull manure.
Yeah, that doesn't fly.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
On Monday, USDA reported declines over this past week in condition ratings for both corn and beans. Normally, that would have caused prices to go up a bit, but no, those prices actually dropped a little bit next day. USDA Chief Meteorologist Mark Brusberg says part of that drop might have been the forecast for good rains during this next week over a lot of the nation's midsection.
And if you look at the 8 to 14 day outlook, they're anticipating wet weather across the Midwest really over the next week. So I do imagine that's going to take some of the bite, off of those declines that they're looking at, in condition. That should perk up.
But this is a time of year when even the slightest weather news can take prices up or down at a heartbeat. And so, as usual,
we're just going to have to ride the roller coaster this summer.
So fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, I'm calmed down a little bit, but that bothers the daylights out of me, especially anything that involves U.S. troops and whether it's Tucker Carlson or MTG, or I didn't know where Trump was going the other day on it, but the whole Julian Assange thing. Sorry, don't tell me it's about freedom of the press, because it wasn't about freedom of the press. It was about hacking into a computer to get information, hopefully that you could, use for your political benefit, that also included the movements of U.S. troops.
If a source had come to him, we might have a different discussion about publishing any of that. I would still say you have an obligation, because that could cost lives. But if we're talking about journalism, and a source goes to a journalist, that's one thing. When that journalist engages in the practice, as he's alleged to have done, of hacking, then sorry, at that point, you become a criminal if that's true.
And that's why I've said, at the minimum,
due process.
Due process
Here in the States.
In a United States court.
Yep.
Not with the political Department of Justice to sweep this away.
Exactly.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Friday Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right. I'm gonna play this audio cut. What's wrong with this audio cut?
All right.
This is Karine Jean-Pierre on Morning Joe
Well, that's number one.
discussing the debate this week. Here we go.
President Trump can talk policy on Thursday, which remains an open question. We'll see what kind of performer he is that night. One of the places he's undoubtedly going to go is to inflation, which everybody across the country is feeling despite all that economic data we talk about all the time that is so strong. The economy's thriving. Talk about things costing too much. He'll look into the camera maybe and say, you know that your cereal costs too much. He'll go down the list of groceries and gas. How will the president address that criticism?
So here's the thing. This is something that we've been talking about for some.
We don't even have to go into it.
Nope.
What is she doing wrong?
Hatch Act.
Hatch Act. Remember Karine Jean-Pierre, every time she is asked a question, anything concerning anything to deal with the campaign, she says, I can't talk about it, I can't talk about it, I can't talk about it. She goes on friendly MSNBC where she knows she won't be challenged, and she is asked directly a question.
Yep.
How will Biden respond to it? And so she starts saying how Biden will respond to the debate, the debate question or the debate statement by Trump. That is absolutely in violation of the Hatch Act.
Yep.
She's campaigning for Biden and against Trump, which she herself has said she can't do.
Right. I haven't read the Hatch Act in a few minutes. I don't think it has an asterisk, and next to the asterisk at the bottom it reads, except for while appearing on MSNBC.
Did she resign Friday or something? Did we not hear about it? Or just
did it? If Karine Jean-Pierre resigns and nobody cares or hears it, does it actually happen?
Look, I could care less about the Hatch Act. You know, she works for Biden. She's gonna, the whole thing that, well, no, I work for Joe Biden in the official. Well, the official is the same as the campaign.
Yeah, she uses it for a cop out, and then sits down with MSNBC and goes full bore here. And again, you didn't even have to play the audio. The first word should have been, "I'm sorry, I can't talk about the debate. That's a violation of the Hatch Act."
Right. Exactly.
I can talk about the current policies of the president and how they contrast from the previous president. And I'd be glad to talk about those. I'm not going to discuss the debate.
But it's not about the Hatch Act because I look at it and I go, talk about a law that could be abused. Look, you work for the president, you work for the campaign.
Yeah.
We all know. Let's not be stupid here. I mean, the law exists. It's her using it when the only thing we're talking about is her hypocrisy of using it whenever there's going to be a tough question put at her that she doesn't want to answer. And then when she gets into friendly territory, she'll be the biggest campaign spokesperson. So it shows she doesn't care about the Hatch Act. It's
so let me introduce this question. What's wrong with what Eric is about to say? If Karine Jean-Pierre were to be consistent, I'll just leave it there. I don't need to say anymore. Good night, folks. Drive safely. That's, again, the entire point. Yeah, it's the Hatch Act. I don't know. She would get an immediate pardon. Oh, my gosh.
All right. Got to throw this out here.
Yeah? All right. What do you got?
All right. There it is. The Fed's Bowman sees no cuts this year.
Yeah.
Warns a possible rate hike.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Told you.
The biggest underpriced risk in the market is still a hike from the Federal Reserve. The federal funds future market implies a near certainty that the Fed will cut interest rates by the end of the year, pricing in a 94% chance of at least one cut and a 65% chance of two cuts by the December meeting. There's still a 66% chance implied of a September rate cut, despite the political explosion a cut on the eve of the election would ignite. On Tuesday, Fed Governor Michelle Bowman attempted to throw some cold water on the fervor for rate cuts. In prepared remarks delivered in London, Bowman said she sees a number of upside risks to inflation, reiterated the need to keep rates higher for some time, and noted that she would back more rate increases if inflation remains at the current level.
Mm-hmm.
We are still not yet at the point where it is appropriate to lower the policy rate, Bowman said. I remain willing to raise the target range for the federal funds rate at a future meeting should progress in inflation stall or even reverse. That is even more hawkish than it might appear at first glance. Many Fed officials have said that they would be willing to raise rates if inflation starting to rise rapidly again, although they typically downplay the possibility. Bowman took that step further by saying she would support an increase without a rise in inflation. All it would take is progression on inflation stalling. Wow. Bowman's stance was almost more hawkish when it comes to the likelihood of progress on inflation in the near term. Many Fed officials have noted that there is upside risks to inflation. No kidding. But typically this is presented alongside notes that there are downside risks in economic growth and strength of the labor market. God, I just hate it when government tries to manipulate and tries to regulate the economy through rates. And God, I just hate it.
It's so predictable now. I mean, you and I have been talking about it, and I've been convinced from the beginning that the Fed chair is not he's not serious about inflation. And it just seemed like everybody was drunk or high in December when they kept saying, look, we're going to see several. I think one person was up to 6 rate cuts for this year, going into this year. Starting as early as March. We get to March. Oh, well, I guess it's not going to happen. Maybe July. Oh, I guess that's...
Trump should do a commercial.
Yeah.
This is drugs. This is your nation on drugs.
Exactly. Well, because we look at what's not changing. Prices aren't coming down. Inflation rate has come down from the high, but it's still significantly above that target rate of 2. So what are you going to do about that? You're not going to drop the rates. And I don't know if I see a rate increase, maybe November 6th, a day after the election when Trump wins. Okay, we'll go ahead and raise rates, but I'm not sure. But they're certainly not going to be dropping rates.
Well, there's all this Olympic talk going on, right? The Olympics coming up. You've got you and I love it. By the way, Eric had the greatest line off the air. He was talking about Michael Phelps testifying before Congress about the use of performance-enhancing drugs. At the
Hey, you need any?
If it enhances my performance, maybe
I can get Biden on the phone, would you?
Will it help that McNamara stumble there? But that was great when you just said, because when he was talking about the Chinese and the Chinese doping, and this is about doping in the in the Olympics, and Phelps was talking about the Chinese, and you said, what an exercise in futility. We can't even hold the Chinese accountable for creating a virus in a lab that created a worldwide pandemic.
Exactly. And look, I see his point. He must be greatly frustrated because now, looking back on it, they never followed up on it. Basically, he's saying the anti-doping agency didn't do anything. And so now I look back on it and we respect when we lose. We respect the other athletes from other nations. But now I can't be so sure that it happened fair and square. So that's to sum it up. And dude, We had a pandemic. And we're not asking the Chinese for anything. Are you kidding me? Anti-doping what? Smoke them if you got them, or however that works. I mean, it's not, nobody cares. That's the thing. If the outrage about the Wuhan lab were there, and maybe it will grow. Maybe as we learn more, I don't know. But right now, nothing has been done. We're not going to hold China's feet to the fire on that. So, anti-dope. The Olympics, you know that, you mean that thing where you guys play games for a few weeks? We had a pandemic. And we don't care how it began.
But meanwhile, from Paris, remember the environmentally friendly sustainability Paris Olympics coming up?
Yes.
Remember?
Right.
Remember this?
The apartments with no air conditioning.
With no air conditioning. Olympic organizers plan on cooling the rooms by using fans and pipes underneath the village.
Uh-huh.
And we're not sure if it's going to work.
I'm guessing.
Well, what's going on? The U.S. Olympic team officially is going to bring air conditioning with them now to the Paris Olympic Village.
Oh, it was, by the way, at first, it was only a few nations that said, hey, we're bringing ACs with us. And then other nations were like, well, no, we want to respect it, blah, 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 blah. Oh, it's above 85 degrees every day? Yeah, make sure we bring the ACs.
As you can imagine, this is a period of time in which consistency and predictability is critical for Team USA performances. The athletes felt it was a critical component in their performance capability. We don't care. Our goal is to save the planet. If you lose a gold medal, deal with it.
Right. You're playing games. We're playing with the planet. I mean, we're playing games with the planet. We're playing political games with the planet. How dare you?
The lack of air conditioning is one of the many plans that Paris has to keep the games environmentally friendly. Well, where are they going to get the electricity then to run the air conditioners?
Don't know. Generators. Diesel-powered generators.
And the beautiful thing is, and they said one of many, like a ton of the teams are bringing them now. Air conditioners.
Yeah, everybody, yeah.
Talk about what's the most inefficient way, as I found out when I first got my house. I was like, well, I like it when it's like 68 degrees. I got one of those portable air conditioners, figuring, okay, I'll lower just my bedroom, and that will keep my electricity costs low. Then when it finally broke after about 7-8 years, I didn't use it, and I compared the two. Actually, the air conditioning, the efficiency of the big one to lower the temperature and use my ceiling fan, it was way cheaper. You can't believe how inefficient those portable air conditioners are.
Right, they're a huge draw.
Right, compared to a entire system in a home that is much more efficient. So here they go saying we're going to be climate friendly. Now everybody's bringing their own totally inefficient air conditioners, the small portable ones to cool their rooms.
Right.
So there's going to be the Olympic plane going over with the people, then the Olympic air conditioning plane.
Exactly.
You got to bring your own damn air conditioners to the Olympics.
Wow.
Jeez.
Oh, and
we live in a nation of idiots.
To Michael Phelps and his teammates, you got to bring your own water for the pool. They're trying to save on water, but you're going to have at least some.
Bring your own dope.
Dope, water, and air. Just make the list. Dope, water, and air conditioning. So we'll add to it later.
It should be unfair with all he accomplished, because the one image of my mind always has been him doing that bong at the party. Remember that?
Right.
Speaking of doping, 866-90-RED-I.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-I on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. By the way, I have nothing against Michael Phelps at all. In fact, I've heard him in interviews, in fact, and seems like a really, really great guy who did straighten out his. Well, I mean, he didn't really have a huge problem. He got caught partying one time, I don't think.
Right,
Did he have a huge problem? Did he go to?
I
can't remember if he went to recovery or whatever.
I can't remember.
But he seems like when I saw
But he's
him,
a disciplined athlete. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, when it comes to that part of it, that blows my mind. That kind of discipline, and I think that's why we tune into professional sports or the Olympics or anything else.
Yeah. But I thought there was a funny line when you said he's before Congress about the Chinese doping.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you talking about? We had a pandemic.
Yeah.
We can't hold them accountable for what went on at that lab.
Right.
It's like, oh, but doping, we'll get to the bottom of that.
Yeah, I expect him to be there and be concerned about it. I mean, if he has to, speak to Congress. But, yeah, sorry, Michael.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.